Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Disney. Disney is beginning its total collapse now. Wokeness has poisoned Disney while they're being crushed by the streaming challenge. Streaming has changed entertainment forever, and Disney is not handling it all that well. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please do subscribe. Coming from the Wall Street Journal, wokeness hobbles Disney as it faces the streaming challenge. When revenue is declining anyway, it doesn't help to alienate half your audience with political posturing, which Bob Iger says is not political. He is so woke and he's so focused on the woke content and pushing their propaganda that he refuses to admit that it's even political. Disney CEO Bob Iger hinted this month that he might sell some of the company's cable channels on the heels of thousands of layoffs across the business's empire. Its stock has fallen by more than half in the past 2 years, and its streaming service is losing billions of dollars annually. They've lost more than $11 billion on the streaming service. By now, they could have just put all their Disney content on Hulu and actually paid Comcast $10 billion, $12 billion, and that would be equivalent to the loss that they've had so far. There's no question that streaming has disrupted the economics of the TV and film industries, but Disney's forthcoming live-action remake of the 1937 animated classic Snow White illustrates another business problem. Disney has elevated progressive propaganda over originality and tradition, which may be alienating its customer base. Well, of course it's alienating what used to be their customer base. They're also getting to the point where they've alienated enough people that people look the other way when they see a Disney product. This is in the millions and tens of millions of people, if not more. So it prevents them from ever breaking through and getting momentum and strong word of mouth, even if they do something progressive. A good example is Barbie. The movie just opened to like $300 million this weekend worldwide, which is absolutely tremendous. It is historic. Barbie has done phenomenal, but it's because they haven't upset enough people to have them discounting Barbie as a brand and saying, yeah, I don't like Barbie. Stay away from Barbie. Yes, there was some talk about Barbie being woke, but people really weren't that aware of it. Think about Star Wars when it first came out. The first couple of movies did okay. They made some money. And then as time went on, people just gave up on it. In its new rendition of Snow White, the 7 dwarfs are recast as magical creatures of various races and ethnicities, and Latina actress Rachel Ziegler reprises the princess whose skin in the Brothers Grimm tale is, quote, white as snow. There's nothing wrong with casting a diverse crew, but Disney is refashioning a classic fairy tale merely to virtue signal. Considering its 2017 live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast, which recast Gaston's sidekick LeFou as gay, a 2022's Toy Story spin-off Lightyear included a scene of 2 lesbians kissing. The scene had been edited out but was restored after Disney employees complained that it had been censored. The Disney Plus streaming service warns that animated classics such as Dumbo, Peter Pan, and Jungle Book include, quote, negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or cultures that were, quote, wrong then and they are wrong now. Thanks for giving the trigger warning, but most parents don't need to be hit over the head with things they already know. Yet that's what Disney's newer films, along with most of Hollywood productions, do. They hit you over the head with left-wing cultural mores over and over again. Mr. Iger has attributed Disney's financial problems to disruption from streaming. That's no doubt part of it. But as many more Americans have cut the cord, Disney generates less revenue from cable and satellite. At the same time, Americans are ditching theaters for their big screens at home, which cuts into box office revenue. In its most recent quarter, Disney's streaming business, which includes Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu, lost $659 million. Disney Plus alone lost 4 million subscribers. Most streaming services are struggling because their production costs exceed their subscription revenue. When cable dominated, people had to pay for channels whether they watched them or not. Now they don't have to. And that is the fundamental change between distributing your content through cable channels and distributing it through a streaming service. People think nothing of canceling their streaming service. If they miss it, they can just reinstate their service a couple of months later. This is a major problem for Disney and a major problem especially for ESPN, which is why Disney now is talking about selling off its TV assets and cable channels, and they're also talking about a joint venture with ESPN and the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball in search of trying to make some kind of a transaction that makes financial sense. Because, and this is really pretty amazing, I was just wondering about this the other day, and there's a pretty good article about it on puck.news from William Cohen. He's discussing how ESPN subscriber numbers have declined from 100 million in 2011 to 74 million in 2022, and it's losing around 6% of their subscribers per year as people cut the cable cord and no longer subscribe to cable. So eventually they're probably going to wind up with around 45 million subscribers to ESPN. The problem with that is they're not generating anywhere near enough revenue when they drop from 100 million subscribers to 45 million subscribers. How are they supposed to make a profit, especially paying these high fees? It does make sense to have a joint venture with these sports teams, and that's probably something Iger will wind up pulling off. But they are in amazing trouble at Disney, and they wouldn't be selling off channels or trying to do joint ventures if it wasn't absolutely necessary. It also makes me think there's really likely no chance of them doing a deal with Apple. I'm not seeing it anymore as they're selling off their cable channels, they're selling off ABC, their TV stations. They're going to take ESPN basically out of the deal by doing joint ventures with these other companies, which means there'll be shared ownership and shared control of ESPN. What would Apple actually be buying? Theme parks? If they want to buy Star Wars, they could just write Disney a check for $10 billion. Iger would take that in 2 seconds. I don't see it happening. Disney does have a big catalog of intellectual properties, including classic movies and TV shows that aren't available anywhere else. Iger did buy Fox for $52 billion after they sold off a couple of Fox's assets as part of the close of the deal. And they got The Simpsons and they got Avatar, and Avatar recently made a lot of money. So why isn't Disney at the top of their game right now? They have all of this exclusive content. They have more money than they know what to do with in terms of putting it towards marketing, production, whatever they want. They certainly have the resources. Iger has blamed overproduction of content an industry-wide problem, and it's true, the amount of new content is overwhelming for everyone, and it's not presented well on their streaming services. Iger even covered on the CNBC interview how they didn't really have a good suggestion engine and how they're still working on their suggestion engine for their streaming services, which if you think about it is a little bit ridiculous because it's the suggestion engine that gets people to find and discover other content they may like, which allows Disney to produce less content and get more value out of it as long as people are getting to discover and see content they may like. That could reduce their cost of content production by billions, but they haven't quite figured it out yet. It's really amazing how badly Disney is run as a business. Disney's classic options and audience base gives it an advantage over other streaming services. Parents are willing to pay a premium for content that is entertaining, educational, and most important, age appropriate. They don't want to have to screen shows and movies before showing them to their kids. Yet Disney is conceding this advantage to curry favor with the cultural left. No doubt many millennial parents don't mind if their toddlers see a cartoon with lesbians kissing in it, like in Lightyear, but other parents do. And many don't like how Disney is recasting classics to exalt diversity for the sake of diversity and expunging anything that may offend the new woke sensibilities. Disney's classics are classics because they discreetly impart virtues through parables, through story. The mirror on the wall dubs Snow White the fairest one of them all, not because of her skin color, but because of her magnanimous character, which she demonstrates in her kindness towards the dwarves. These days, Disney is hopping on the Hollywood bandwagon in trying to force-feed progressive virtue. The industry's problem is that streaming has eliminated its captive audience, which production studio executives appear to understand even if actors and screenwriters don't. Iger recently criticized the actors and screenwriters that are on strike for being not realistic by demanding significantly higher base pay and a cut of revenue from streaming productions, among other things. They are adding to a set of challenges that this business is already facing that is quite frankly very disruptive and dangerous. Iger's right. Other unions have put their members out of work by issuing excessive demands to businesses facing disruption, be it from foreign competition or new technology. As much as Hollywood promotes cultural change, it's very much struggling to adapt to technological and business changes threatening its left-wing megaphones. By projecting their politics into children's movies, Disney employees may end up casting themselves into the woods. Artificial intelligence is a big part of what the strikes are all about. There almost seems like there's really no easy resolution to that. Former studio head Barry Diller has said if the strike isn't settled in Hollywood by September 1st, the entire business will collapse, not just one company or another. But they can't just solve it like 6 months from now, because then they'll have no content in the pipeline to actually release more content. Additionally, all the people who are businesses that support productions, like providing lighting and other vendors that service productions, won't necessarily be able to exist anymore if they don't actually get any business. But Disney is doing its own self-destruction. It's difficult to know what's going on in Bob Iger's head. His obsession with the progressive agenda is kind of ridiculous if he would have just stuck to trying to having elevated themes distributed as propaganda throughout his products, meaning shows and movies. They could have been running their ideas of acceptance or whatever it is they want to push with the LGBT agenda in the background through these projects. But by being so in your face and so aggressive with all the content, they've really destroyed their Disney brand. They're selling off ABC as soon as they can. They're selling off cable channels. They're selling off TV stations. They're going to take ESPN and do some kind of a deal with that, where they're going to lose some kind of control of it so other investors and players can come in. That's almost guaranteed to happen. It looks like Bob Iger is going to substantially shrink whatever is left of Disney, because it's completely fallen apart. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.